I feel like people should not sugarcoat this stuff. All right, people, you shouldn't sugarcoat it. Don't try to bring, don't try to modernize, don't try to modernize the Bible and try to appease the people of today the way that their mind is, because a lot of things that we accepted yesterday, we do not accept today. So if you try to modernize the Bible, it ain't going to work. So I'm not trying to appease nobody. If I tell you, if God tells you, if you touch that, I'm going to do this, that's what he meant. And even if the words that we use, genocide and all of these things, if God is capable of doing these things because he did it over and over again in the Bible. Whether you want to accept it or not, that's a whole nother story. But we're not going to modernize the Bible and try to make excuses about what God did in the Bible. We got to take this Bible straight up. So if God said, I'm going to do this if you don't listen, he is going to do that. How you interpret it today in today's modernized world, that's totally different. Let's keep going. No, but can you do me a favor and not cuss?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm actually going to agree with Frank on this one. I think that Jesus and God together are like absolutely awful. They slaughter people who don't believe in them. They threaten people in like horrific ways, like ways that like, if I did it would be bad.
Yeah, he does sound like a fucking. He does sound like
okay. Let's put some things in the context so that we. Okay, fine. Let's put some things in the context. So here, guys sound like a piece of crap, and they're using a lot of foul language and they're cussing and stuff like that, which is, it was their house, it was their debate, and I went to them, so I had to accept it, which is fine. But but here it is again, in our limited mind view, in our limited way of thinking. We try to understand things in very simplistic terms or in very simplistic ways, right? We put things in good and bad. In the Garden of Eden, right? When God says, "Hey, Adam and Eve, do not eat from this tree," and they ate from that tree. After that, God just said, "Now God had no intentions of us being aware of good and evil." Right? God had no intentions of us being aware of good and evil. The things that God, being God of the universe, was dealing with and he was shielding us from, we were not aware of how he was fighting these battles and what he had to do to shield us from all of this. But because we disobeyed him and we ate that fruit, now we became aware of what he was aware of. Things that he had to, things that we were never going to be privy to, the battles that he was going to, the battle that God was fighting, and the battles that God was, the way that God moves the universe and the way that the universe was operating. We were shielded from all of that, but the second we ate that fruit and disobeyed God, we now became aware of that. We became aware of diseases. We became aware of betrayal, a whole lot of things that were in this world that God did not want us to be aware of. So now when he put us in this world, he says, okay, now you're in this world, and woman, you're going to have to bear child, right? Man, you're going to have to, work the field. You're going to have to work the soil. So all of these things that we're dealing with in today's world is based on our limited understanding of what's going on. We don't understand it. So when you say, oh, God is terrible, when you try to understand life as it's happening in its totality and say genocide is bad and war is bad, and that's how we look at things, and oh, you kill all of these people and that's bad, and your God is terrible because he just kills people for no apparent reason. That is a very limited way of that's a very limited way of understanding how this works and how this world, this universe operates. Something that God did not want us to be aware of. He was going to handle it without us being aware of any of it. Your parents Your parents guide you. Your parents protect you from a lot of things when you are young. Things that they're dealing with, marital fights, certain finances, how you eat, the things that you're just going along. You're going on vacations. You're going along, and you're going on vacations. Your school fees being paid. Lots of things are happening for you, and you're just living your life. You're being shielded by your parents. Certain things you're not privy to, but the older you get, you start to understand that there is more to this than just, oh, I'm happy, I'm going to school, or I have food on the table. Every time I ask for new clothes, I get the new clothes. If you're fortunate enough to get those new clothes, but you have to understand that your parents shield you when you are a child. All right. God shields us. He wanted to shield us from all of this happening. So when you peel back the curtain, when you look behind the curtain on how your home is being operated, and if you have parents or you have guardians, and now you start understanding, when you start seeing that there's a whole lot more going on, you're like, oh my gosh, I did not know that all of this was going on. Right. So you can't just look at God and look at life and how God is operating and look at the decisions that God is making based on just the simplistic term of killing, genocide, bad murder, diseases. You can't just look at it like that. That is in our limited understanding. God says, my ways are not your ways, my thoughts are not your thoughts. But that's what we do. This is how humans try, this is how humans operate. And there was a time, the Wild Wild West, there was a time where there was a lot of chaos because everybody was fighting and jousting for position. All right. So there was a lot of killing. And at a certain point, it was killing was looked upon as, you know, there was a time where people had to do what they had to do in order to just plainly survive. Now we're comfortable. Now we're in a civilized society. Now we're living in countries with where we send people away to war, and we're comfortably living in the country while they're fighting our wars. Right. So the way that we look at things because we're comfortable, it's a whole lot different from how things were back in the day when you were living in open fields, where you were living in tents. Your whole group had to move together. So there had to be people who dealt with fighting the animals that would attack you, snakes and vermins, all type of different things that was in that place that you were, because you were not in borders. Everybody was in open spaces and you moved from one space to another. And there was a lot of danger where people wanted, if they wanted to take the stuff that you had in your tent, they would come and just kill you and take it. Context matters. So for you to just say, "Oh, God is terrible," and all of these things, if we put it into context and what was happening in the beginning, it helps us to understand it a little better. We cannot take this stuff and try to understand it in today's terms, in today's society, and say, "Oh, this is God. Your God is terrible because he kills people." That's a very simple way. That's a very limited and simple way to look at this entire story. Let's keep going. That way, that we'll understand from
Can I
which,
just clarify
when you're
though?
saying
When you
he's a
say
piece of
SH, are you saying shit hell? Or is that two
No,
swears?
no,
Or are
no.
you
It's just shit. It's like the sh word. If I was gonna do, if I just said s, I'd mean scrotum.
Don't you?
Yeah, my mom and my dad told me not to cuss in public when I'm having the public discourse.
We're in
So
private.
I'm just
We're in a
asking-
private Discord.
I understand, but there's a lot of people here, so I'm just asking if it's possible.
Then the answer's in the context. You're never gonna get
I'm
it
probably
in the
gonna
context.
swear.
I don't know what it means either, but
I'm
the
your guest.
context.
I'm
The
asking.
answer must be hidden in the context. Don't ask me what the context is, but all I know is it's context.
There's a good chance I'm gonna say some
I'm just,
swears.
like I said, I'm your guest, and that's on you. You can cuss. Go ahead.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
so here it goes. Okay, so here it goes. This is the thing. We have to talk in context, right?
Yeah.
If you look at history, the way that things were going in history, when you were having a conversation earlier, and y'all were talking about the fact that God told the Israelites to kill all the babies and kill the animals. Do not leave anybody alive.
Yeah,
and
that
I
was
feel
fucked. I mean, sorry, that was effed.
every I know you're gonna have fun with that now. Now that I said don't cuss, you're just gonna go for it.
You're on to me. You're on to me.
I get it. I understand. I understand how trolling works.